One, one program that I'd like to mention that I was very proud of, and that was in conjunction with John Haidt, establishing the Team Leaders Program, whereby we selected leaders off of every one of our extracurricular programs and brought them together and tried to motivate them to motivate their teams. And at least once a year, we'd bring them to a camp out of town, overnight stay, and we'd bring in professional moderators and go through a training session with these kids. And I felt that was very vital to our programs back then. I can remember one case of girls basketball. Shannon Monahan, who was an outstanding athlete, was one of our team leaders, and she came back from one of these camps, and she just laid it on the line to the rest of her teammates. You know, you're going to buckle down, you're going to be committed, you're not going to break training rules, you're not going to be out carousing, and it was so effective. And that was just one example, and there certainly were others, but it was great. Well, that was a real influencing thing in my life, I think. I grew up in a little town called Hallstead, which is north of Moorhead on the Red River. And we had a class of 26 kids, and just a very, very successful senior year. We played six-man football, never lost a game. We were in the single class system at that time in basketball, and went on to take third place in the state basketball tournament, and then went on to win the state baseball title that same year. And we had in fact, we had a kid that pitched all three games, won all three games in that state baseball tournament. And as a result of that, the next year the State High School League changed the rules prohibiting anybody from throwing that much. They were restricted on the number of innings that any one person could throw in a certain period of time. So that really set the tone for me as far as the athletics were concerned. And we were a very close-knit bunch of kids that played ball virtually every day. We had a young kid who was probably 6 years younger than we were, a farm kid, who was not an athlete. But in the school that we were in, all 12 grades are in the same building. So you really got to know every kid in the school, and we didn't have a lot of kids. But he so admired this team of ours in basketball down then, and we didn't even know who he was. Here we are now, what, 50 years later, he comes around, and he's done well for himself as a lawyer, and he still has a big farm back up there, writing a book. He wrote a book called Pirates on the Prairie, and it's about that whole last year of our school, highlighting all of these stories about basketball and kids going to Minneapolis for the first time in the state tournament. And he's published this book. It cost him about $30,000 to do this, but he was so enamored with the guys that were playing at that time that that was always the goal, is to somehow publish that thing, and he did it. I probably wouldn't want him to know that I hate to lose, and whether it was personally involved in my own athletic endeavors, or even now at this point, playing golf, I hate to lose to people. But likewise, I had that same attitude, I guess, with our athletic programs, that I hated to see our teams lose. Winning and losing certainly weren't everything. I mean, there was a lot more to the program than that, and I realized that in some programs we weren't quite that competitive and we would naturally lose, but it was a factor. Oh boy, there are so many of them. Physical fitness would be a real top one. I think the fact that kids, especially now, really need it. I mean, we're finding more and more obesity with people, and I think that athletics is a real plus for them to be in. But the commitment, the dedication that they make to the sport, the rules and regulations they have to follow, it's been proven that extracurricular activities are a real predictor of how kids are going to turn out into their adult life. And I think for that reason alone, it's very, very good. Well, my dear wife, of course, is the one that bore the brunt of a lot of any misery that I brought home, and I would do that occasionally, I guess. But she was very patient, and she was the one that would have to, sit home at night when I was off to a basketball game or involved with the programs or meetings or whatever I had to do. So she was the one that really raised our three children, and she was so supportive of anything that I brought home, and was a real comfort zone. The thing that I certainly want to comment on is my appreciation to the foundation for honoring me. Any honor that I'm getting is certainly due to the coaching staff that we've had. I mean, without the jobs that those guys did, those gals did, people did, not only athletics, but the extracurriculars and all of them, and there were a lot of them, they just did a marvelous job, and it might have made me look good sometimes. There were times I didn't look so good, but I'm very appreciative to the foundation for this honor, and it is an honor.